Julian, hey,
Yeah,
congratulations for Blonde Purple.
thank you very much. So yeah, it's nice that it's finally out. I just love when people seeing it.
It's always satisfying when a completed project and people get to see it. That's for certain.
Oh, completely. Yeah, I mean, we were filming it about this time last year, and it's kind of like you think back and you're like, gosh, that was during the pandemic and everything like that, right in the thick of it. And so now having people see it, it's just kind of a bit mind-boggling. I kind of never thought it was going to happen.
Well, I mean, if it was filmed during the pandemic, I mean, this was a good film to do it because you could maintain a like really small cast.
Yeah. Yeah, and stay in one room as well. A lot of it's like this claustrophobic heist film. It's like there's no contamination. You don't need loads of locations. You're just stuck in this bank.
When you were doing this production, and because you limited locations, because you had like the bar, the diner, and this office in the bank. Does this make it easier on you? Because I know you came from a background of theater.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the kind of actor you are, I guess. I mean, you know, doing lots of different locations is usually really fun because you get to come in and you're like, and I'm a bit nosy as well. Like we did film in this house, this lovely house in North London, and I was just having a real nosy about the house, being like, oh gosh, look at this. I'm a real like house snoop, once I get in and looking in the drawers and stuff like that. And um, but really, I mean, yeah, it was just like the great thing about doing location stuff is it's real. You're in a real office, you're in a real diner, and it was really fun.
So what initially attracted you to do something like Blonde Purple?
Um, I think when I read the script, I identified to a lot of the stuff that the character went through. I mean, my dad's actually American, Black American, and I identified a lot. The father figure in this film is very much a similar relationship I had with my own father. Um, and I kind of use acting as a bit of free therapy. I was like, right, well, I'll get to process those emotions and process that relationship, and hopefully in the process, people will watch that story and they might connect to it. And I certainly connected to it when I read it, and I found it compelling, and I loved the language. The script was like, fast paced, hard hitting. You know what I mean? And it just looked like a joy to play, and it was, and a challenge.
What's it so it was fairly easy for you to get in the headspace of the character. Was it easy to turn off?
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of just I'm good at like leaving it at, on the set. I just give it all. I mean, I was tired. I think when you finish something like that, it's more you're just physically knackered. I basically spent my whole because we finished filming around Christmas, and I just spent my whole Christmas on the couch. My voice was tired from shouting and all the different things that I had to do, but I do. I use acting to process those things. So when I'm done with something, it feels like I've moved past it and been able to get something for it and understand something, and had an emotive response to it. Um, yeah.
Well, what did you think about this character who seems to be stuck in a bind of a bank robbery gone wrong?
Yeah. I think, I one of the reasons I liked it is because I feel like a lot of the time art can be so, good, bad, hero, villain, and this is a complex character. And you'd go through this, there's fantastic characters around him who definitely manipulate him and definitely coerce him into doing things that I feel as you watch it, you're like, oh, please don't do that, don't make that. But at the same time, he is responsible for his own choices. He's a product of his environment, but he has a lot of opportunities to kind of make the choice that everyone is kind of hoping he will do, and he just kind of lets you down, or maybe surprises you and does do the right thing in the end. But I mean, yeah, it was the fact that it was about choices that really appealed to me, and how someone can, and vulnerability as well. He's a character who I like. Those characters who are like hard on the outside, but you can sense there's a vulnerability under, like a deep vulnerability under there. I find the hardest people in life, the toughest people I've ever met in life, are actually the ones who have been hurt the most. When they're a little kid, and that tough exterior is because of that. That appealed to me.
I find it funny talking to you because you have a very noticeable Irish accent, but then when I watched the film, I could get barely those hints in the accent of your character.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That means I did my job. I mean, it's funny. My accent changes all the time. You know, like cause I was born in Canada and my dad's American, and we lived over there as well for a bit, and then we moved to Ireland when I was about 12 or so, and my accent changes depend. You know, if I talk to you long enough, it would start to go American, and you'd be thinking, "Who is this guy? He's faking it." You know, he's mocking me. You know, and even when I go back to Ireland, you know, they all call me because I've been in England now, working as an actor for about 10, 12 years. They all call me the English boy when I go back home. They're like, "Oh, the English boy's back. Well, hello." You know, they think I talk really posh or really, you know, highfalutin.
That is actually pretty funny. Now, your character, I found it a little bit different and amusing that he actually strips down and at the bank. Was that for comfort's sake?
Completely, yeah. I demanded that was put in the script. Actually, I was like, I have to get my clothes off. I'm not doing this role without it. Yeah, no, it was funny. I actually missed. You know, when you're reading these scripts, you know, you might miss one stage direction, and it might be one that you know doesn't really matter. Often you're on set and someone says, "Oh, you're supposed to actually stand over there," but this was one where it says, I just missed. There's one line that just says, "And he strips off those underwear," and I just had missed that in my reading of it a few times, and I remember in the first rehearsal, you know, Marcus, the director, said, "And this will be where you take your clothes off." And I was like, "Sorry, what?" I'm doing what? But it made sense, you know. I think in the film he had a justified reason for it, and you know, I won't seem like an actor who's like, "I need to get my clothes off now. Hope you don't mind."
I mean, it is funny, especially the fact that that entire scene with with your clothes off is it's practically in front of her what's the actress name, Ellie, for the whole time.
I know, yeah, I know. And she's the one who stops me from going any further. You know, once we get down to the underwear, she's like, "Stop! What are you doing?" Yeah, I had to get comfortable with that. I was standing in front of 10 or 12 people every day in my underwear, and I just it helped for the confidence.
Now, I think the most challenging thing for you was probably acting against the voice. You know,
Yeah.
the police negotiator. Was how was the process actually handled there? Because I'm sure you weren't really on a phone call with anybody during that
No,
entire time.
yeah, that was. I mean, it made me think about films like Phone Booth and things like that. Those old films. I thought, oh gosh, how did they do that back then as well? And because our actor, he was in New York, and so he wasn't even in the room with me, and neither was Jess as well, who's the other woman on the phone with me while I'm in the bank, and we just had one of the producers or whoever was on hand read the lines in a very kind of monotone voice, and then I went, and it's credit to the actor who plays the cop, because he actually, and I think he did a brilliant job. He actually watched my performance and fed his lines into my bits, which is a difficult task. You know what I mean? Like, to have to make your lines sound realistic automatically off of the way someone else is acting. I think he did a brilliant job of it as well. But yeah, I was just using whoever was there, and sometimes it got a bit frustrating, but we got there in the end.
So when you do something like this, you have to elevate your own acting, because sometimes when producers just read the lines in a monotone voice, it's it's not like the proper reaction of a conversation.
Yeah, it's hard to get those kind of nuances, but I mean, I just with that script, I just went through it. I just read it every day. I learned those lines till they were like just burned into my head, and really, and just it took a lot of imagination, and I think that's the brilliant thing about acting, is how strong can your imagination be. And so I had someone, when somebody said those lines, but for me it was just timing, and I had the guy on the other end. I knew how he sounded. Do you know what I mean? I knew when he was taunting me. I knew when he was, I wrote his lines as well, and knew what I wanted him to do to me, and then he did it as well in the recording.
Well, I mean, a lot of the scenes is with Ellie. Do you ever feel bad of constantly pointing the gun at her?
No, not at all. I relished it. Yes, it's a bit mean pointing a gun at someone so sweet, but I mean, she gives her own, you know, as the film, as you see, you know, her and her character turn out to be quite, you know, they've got their own issues. So she gave me everything I needed to be justified to point that gun at her. Really, you know, a lot working with her. She's a fantastic actor, and like a lot of organic stuff came out, and we created a lot of stuff in that room. And I think we drove. So yeah, I wanted at times. I really wanted to shoot her.
There are some great moments with Adam throughout the throughout the movie, because obviously you have to develop the backstory before the bank robbery, but I find it comical, those diner scenes that you actually do. I mean, it's like a comedy moment, you know, trying to sneak out and yell out for service, is it not?
Yeah. I mean, he was great at that as well, you know. Yeah, it was really fun filming with Adam. I mean, me and him had a really great rapport, and that was basically that. We could have just taken the conversations we had across that diner, you know, in between scenes or whatever. We'd be waiting in the car or trailer, and we would just be having those conversations as ourselves. So it was really easy to transition, you know. We'd have very challenging conversations, and I love when you meet somebody who's not afraid to poke you a bit and see where your kind of boundaries are and what your opinions are. And that's a lot of what those scenes are, is like testing and pushing. And he gave it, and I had to work around him. And he's such a powerful actor as well.
So Julian, what kind of films do you know, or projects that you like to choose for yourself? Because, you know, I've only seen, you know, a few action stuff that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's odd. I've done a lot of action stuff, especially when it comes to American. You know, I did like Mission Impossible and, you know, 24 and things like that, and I do enjoy playing those things. I mean, for me, I like sort of any film that I like complex. You know what I mean? I like the films that recently have come out. You know what I mean? Sound of Metal and Nomadland, like challenging films that don't offer you answers and poke and provoke you, you know, and us as well in terms of the acting and stuff like that. It's like I like real, you know. I'm trying to. I love performances where they're very. Some of these films you watch and it's like Sound of Metal could have been a documentary. You know what I mean? It felt like that, and the performances were so honest and truthful. And I'm a real actor's actor, so if there's a good performance in the film, I'll be hooked on it. I'm trying to get into filmmaking more and things like that, and I do appreciate it as an art, but show me any good performances and I'll be hooked.
Well, that explains why you took on such a complex character role, like in this film.
It was a dream. Yeah, it honestly was. I mean, this was like, you know, like Dog Day Afternoon with Pacino, or, you know what I mean? There's so many films this reminded me of. That Phone Booth was another one. I mean, these are films where it's just a few great performances, and it just engages everyone. I was riveted to do it, but scared as well, you know. Definitely felt the stress on that one.
Most excellent. I love the reference to a phone booth, because there's only a few people who could actually still remember that film. I mean, but it's great though. No one can find a phone booth or even you know films about the whole film being in a phone booth. You know, that's their
That
intention.
can never happen now. Yeah, no one would answer that phone.
This is terrific. Well, hey, Julian, hey, thank you very much for speaking to us. Congratulations once again for Blonde Purple. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
Hey, nice to meet you. Thank you. Next time.
Bye.
Bye.